First, on our position on the war between Russia and Ukraine, we always support and will continue to support Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty. And as a country which suffered from occupation and deterioration of our territorial integrity, we, of course, fully understand this situation. So everyone whom you may ask will say that we want war to stop immediately. Yes, we also want. But the main question is how, and whether this ceasefire, potential ceasefire, or how to say, temporary ceasefire, will be sustainable or not. As a country which had 2 wars, active wars, and period in between, I can tell you that ceasefire never stops war. Never. And it didn't stop in our case. It's just a temporary relief for countries to regroup, to mobilize, and to start again. Second, what ceasefire means. It's also important because these terms are very important for those who want to help the war to stop, to clearly understand what we are talking about. Everybody will say, I want war to stop. Yes, let's applaud. So what? What does it mean to stop? Does it mean that there'll be no artillery, there'll be no air bombs, there'll be no sniper war, there'll be no sabotage group? What it will mean? Line of contact between Russia and Ukrainian troops is much longer than ours. Yes, it is different terrain. In our case, the line of contact was very advantageous for Armenia because they had a nature landscape which protected them and actually helped to keep occupation. Plus, during the ceasefire period for 26 years, they built sometimes 5, sometimes 6, sometimes even more lines of engineering lines. Trenches, barbed wire, minefields. So we have, every week, we have casualties on mines, almost 400 people. More than 70 of them killed, and others became severely wounded. So when people talk about ceasefire in Ukraine or peace in Ukraine, do they understand how difficult it will be to control the troops? And what is the level of discipline in Ukrainian army and Russian army? I don't know. Maybe I know, but I don't want to comment. The level of discipline of Azerbaijani army is well known. We stopped on the outskirts of Hankendi by one order of commander-in-chief. So will that line of contact be safe and secure? Will those who want to mediate demand international peacekeepers on that line of contact, as they demanded it from us? Throughout the years of occupation, one of the consolidated messages of United States, Russia, and France was to bring so-called peacekeepers on the line of contact. So what it meant? It meant that they wanted us to agree for occupation. If peacekeeper comes to the line of contact, which is occupied, that means that you should say goodbye to your territory. And no country, at least in my understanding, will agree to compromise on territorial integrity. And to expect Ukraine to agree that they will sacrifice the international recognized territory in exchange of peace, I think is not fair and is not realistic. Because One thing is to say good things, let's stop the war. And the second thing is to go a little bit deeper and maybe to ask those who had the war recently and what kind of arrangements it needs to create a sustainable peace. Since 1994 May, when we had a ceasefire with Armenia, the war never stopped. There have been different clashes. There was April 2016, when we demonstrated Armenians that they should leave the territories. We didn't want to enter in a large-scale military operation. That's why it lasted only 3 days. But we demonstrated them that we can liberate territories, and we liberated territories. Small, but they did not take that lesson. And then there were several more. The sniper war never stopped throughout 26 years. And even now, you can see that a lot of shootings on our border coming from Armenia. And if ours shoot, they shoot only in response. Discipline in Armenian army is very low. They recruited people who never served or maybe served 30 years ago in army, civilians, these so-called paramilitary groups, veteran groups, and people who do not serve in the regular army because of lack of human resources in Armenia. So all these questions, of course, it's a big topic, so we can talk hours about that. But without addressing this core issue, it will not work. Me personally, being a realist, I do not see in the foreseeable future any prospect for peace between Ukraine and Russia. Russia declared occupied territories as part of Russia. How they can step back from that? Ukraine considers, as the whole world, these occupied territories as part of Ukraine. And Azerbaijan considers them as part of Ukraine. How can they sacrifice and say, no, it's not part of Ukraine? Well, if it happens, then it means that I do not understand something in international politics. And unfortunately, wars end when there is a final capitulation act. As our friend mentioned, from Croatia, they liberated their territory, came to their border, and stopped. And we did the same. We came to our border and stopped. That's how the wars end. This is real world.